what do you do with Evan Mobley? Because I mean, I've seen people on Twitter already today that want to trade him because they think he's just terrible, which is just asinine, by the way. Evan Mobley is not terrible at basketball. Like, come on, what are we doing here? But it has seemed so far this year that there's been such a focus on Mobley's development in this one specific direction where it's like make him a creator, make him an offensive hub in a way that he just like brings the ball up and he's your offense. And I think it was clear that they were emphasizing that from day one. You know, Evan Mobley's been playing since game one like a guy who's heard all summer long that if the Cavs are going to win a championship, he has to be the best player. And he's clearly putting that pressure on himself. He is. And it's weird to me that has clearly been a point of emphasis, is putting him in more of those positions. But then we hear things like it was last week at some point in time. It was, you know, Kenny Atkinson talking about how he had a meeting with Evan Mobley to kind of tell him he's getting away from too far away from his game and what makes him great and whatever. And it's like, well, isn't that what you've been trying to do? Like, isn't that something that could have been taking place in a huddle during a game? Why does that take a private meeting? Because it seems like that's how the offense has been built for this season so far. So why is that how are we saying that that's Evan Mobley getting too far away from who he is and we're not running our offense right? If that's the case. So, like, which is it? I don't know. To me, that's weird. And I think it's fine to focus more during the regular season on developing Evan Mobley. But I think you got to develop the right things, personally. And I don't believe that Evan Mobley's game is enhanced by just catching the ball on the wing and being expected to break a guy down on the dribble. I don't see Evan Mobley as the player who that's going to be his future. I don't see that. I think he can create. I think he can be an offensive hub engine. I think he can start possessions. I think he can get loose and transition and be an absolute menace. And I think that he can have moments, you know, where he does take a guy. Like, I think all that's fine, but I don't think give Mobley ball on wing and let him cook I don't think it's good for their offense in the now. I don't think it's good for Mobley's offense in the now. I don't think it's the right thing to focus on for Mobley's future. And I don't think that it really does a lot for the team's future either, because if you get to the point in the playoffs where that's the play that you're going to call up is just give Mobley the ball on the wing and clear out, like, that seems unlikely. Doesn't feel like that's ever going to be your go-to in a key moment in the playoffs either. So why are we doing it this way? Right? And so I want to be clear. I'm not saying that you don't try to develop Mobley's offense. I'm not saying that you don't try to put him in positions to be more of a hub and facilitator and creator in getting to his stuff, but like, have him do it from positions that are more advantageous for him than just being given the ball on the wing and saying, all right, good luck. So one of the things that I wanted to do here is just pull up his shot chart for this year. And I think it's telling. And there's a few things to me that are telling about it. One is his volume from the three-point line, all being above the break. He's getting nothing from the corners. He's taken 3 threes from the corners all year, which is like, just tells me that he's not getting any of kind of the easy ones. set up for him, from the 3-point line. He's spending so much time on the perimeter, like above the break, like he's a guard, and he's not. He's not a guard, and you can see it in his shot chart. But that doesn't mean that he shouldn't take threes either. Like, particularly, look at that big old like green zone. If you're watching this and can see the chart on the screen, if you're listening, I'm going to tell you there's a big old green zone on his shot chart that is at the top of the key from three, where he's shooting 47% on threes from the top of the key on 19 of them. Yet he's taken more from each of the wings than he has at the top of the key. And while he's shooting well from the right wing, you'll take it. You'll take 36%, above the break from Evan Mobley any day of the week. But from the left, he's shooting 25%. And so I guess all I'm really saying there is that you can use that. That can be something that you try to emphasize. If you're going to get him in a spot where he's going to be, have a look from three, try to get him in the middle of the floor when he's doing it, at least to the right side of the floor, and kind of lean into his where he's shooting the ball particularly well from the 3-point line. A couple other things that stand out to me is the pretty much lack of representation here in the dunker spots. He's taken a whopping 16 shots from the dunker spots. Why? Why 16 only? Like, again, I understand that you're trying to develop him. You don't want him to just be a play finisher. But it seems like we've gone a little too far in one direction, doesn't it? 16 shots from the dunker spots when he shoots 50% from there, which is well above league average. Like, let's get him some looks from there, shall we? That's probably a good idea. And then at the rim, the guy shoots 61% at the rim. Again, that is above league average, but like he's a great play finisher. I would like to see more balance, to it, to have him finish some more plays. And so the reason that I'm going through that and why I'm highlighting those particular zones for that is I think that that's a big part of the answer to what do you do with Evan Mobley right now. I think that you can, again, continue his development, but try to develop him to get to those spots more frequently. For instance, the pick and roll game can be very beneficial for him to get to those spots where he is particularly effective. And this team isn't running the pick and roll like they have in the past. Last year, when they were the best offense in basketball, they ran pick and roll almost 25 times a game with their ball handlers, which was 22% of their possessions, and that was the most in the NBA. But let me ask you, when you were watching those games last year, did it feel like the previous iteration of the offense with JB Bickerstaff when it felt like it was just high pick and roll, high pick and roll, high pick and roll, high pick and roll, Donovan's turn, Darius's turn, Donovan's turn, Darius's turn, high pick and roll every single time down the floor? No, it didn't. And yet they still ran more pick and roll than anybody else in basketball. I think you can run some more pick and roll because this year that's down to 20 possessions, only 17% of their offense, which is ninth in the NBA, where the whole league is actually running less pick and roll compared to what they did last year. So when I'm saying run more pick and roll, I want to make it clear. I'm not talking about how you felt about JB Bickerstaff's offense. I don't mean Houston James Harden. I don't mean what you think of when you think of Trae Young's Atlanta Hawks. I'm talking like 5 or 6 more possessions a game to be more in line with what they were doing last year when they were the best offense in basketball. And in those additional possessions, I think you use Evan Mobley as the screener, and he has options. He can set that pick and pop to the top of the key where he can say, Donovan Mitchell gets blitzed, he can just toss it over to Evan Mobley for a wide open three from the top of the key where he is shooting 47% this season. And that look is going to be there all day long. And he can hit it all day long. You can have him roll to the basket where he is an insane finisher, as we talked about. 50% from the dunker spots, 61% at the rim. Be the roll man in that traditional finishing capacity. He can do that at a high level, obviously. And so you can get him some easier looks that way and get his confidence up for when he does take those shots that are farther out from the basket. You can get his confidence up for when he does have the ball on the perimeter and he's thinking about trying to take a guy off the dribble. He's not going to be thinking, he'll be reacting in the flow of a basketball game he feels good about because he's gotten some easy ones. He's seen the ball go through and he's probably dunked on somebody and he's really feeling himself. So some more of that would be nice to see, again, sprinkled in to what they're doing. I think the other thing that they can do, and this is probably the part where the development comes in the most, is that you can have him set that pick and then get him the ball in the short roll around the nail and have him create from there, as opposed to just tossing him the ball on the wing and trying to get him to create from that spot. Doing it this way, one, it gets him the ball in the flow of the offensive possession rather than from a standstill. It's going to create the opportunities for mismatches, not just for him, but let's be honest, most of the time it's going to be for him, but also for the ball handler. If they switch a big onto Mitchell, like, sorry, that dude's cooked. And if they help off of that, Evan Mobley's going to have a small on him. So, like, the reason that pick and roll has been run to death in the NBA is because it fucking works. So do it, right? He's going to get easier opportunities that way. He'll get some advantages that he gets to work out of. And he's going to get some easier looks. I distinctly remember a couple of plays in that Milwaukee game that stand out in my mind and just drove me nuts. There was a guy at the top of the key that had the ball who wasn't a primary ball handler. I don't even remember who it was. In all of these situations, but it would be like, guy top of the key has the ball. He's looking to give it up to somebody who is more of a play starter, right? And you got Lonzo Ball coming up one wing and Evan Mobley coming up to bail this guy out, and they give it to Mobley instead of Lonzo Ball. And what do they do in that possession? Evan Mobley is just going to start dribbling. And then who the hell knows what's about to happen next? And sometimes it ain't pretty. But another time, mixed in with all of this, he gets the ball right above the nail. Same guy guarding him. He's only, 2-3 feet closer to the basket in that spot. But you can tell he is significantly more comfortable because he takes 1-2 dribbles, takes the guy right to the rim, and finishes. It was beautiful. Beautiful basketball from Evan Mobley. And that's what I'm talking about here. Mixing in more of that. It doesn't mean he never gets the ball anywhere else. It doesn't mean he's not allowed to shoot from anywhere else on the floor. It doesn't mean that he can only be a finisher at the rim. It just means a few more possessions with him in a position to succeed. Because I don't think that you have to try to develop this guy to be Giannis for him to be the best version of Evan Mobley.